Focused and fearless. Here's everything you need to know this rush hour of February 3, Monday. I'm Riza Diaz. Jump-starting today's rush with over 120 flights to and from China to be affected by the implementation of the expanded travel ban amid the 2019 novel coronavirus outbreak. Here's the report.
Airport and airline officials, together with the Immigration Bureau, have implemented the expanded travel ban on China, as ordered by President Duterte amid the deadly coronavirus outbreak. All passengers coming from mainland China, as well as its special administrative regions including Macau and Hong Kong, are now prohibited to enter the Philippines, although Filipinos and some foreigners will still be allowed entry.
Those Filipinos coming in, those foreigners with permanent
resident
visas here will be allowed to come home. However, they will be subjected to a 14-day quarantine.
Filipinos with scheduled flights to China, Macau, and Hong Kong will not be allowed to leave the country.
Kasi ang ban yung travel papunta ron sa mga lugar na yun So sa aking pagkakaintindi ay yung bagay na yun sa ngayon temporarily banned.
Foreigners who came from China, Macau, and Hong Kong will no longer be allowed to leave their planes. Instead, they will be ordered to return to where they came from. Even those with connecting flights from China and the special regions will also be barred.
Those coming from China would not be allowed to come here because of the travel ban. And even those who are not directly coming from China, but for example, they come from Shanghai and they travel to Bangkok and travel to the Philippines, they are also subject to the ban.
Those who will be permitted to enter the country must first undergo a 14-day quarantine. However, authorities have not yet designated a quarantine facility for such passengers. Instead, they will be requested to self-quarantine in their homes for 2 weeks.
There will be people who will be monitoring them according to what was discussed earlier. There will be doctors of epidemiology experts who will track down and check them on, I think it was a twice-a-day call, checking their status. So basically, it is a home quarantine for Filipinos.
On the other hand, foreigners will be allowed to leave for China, Macau, and Hong Kong. The only problem is airline companies have already decided to cancel all trips to those destinations.
With the current situation, the market would reduce on its own, would decrease, no? Because many people would not travel anymore, and early on, the airlines were experiencing a severe decrease in their load factors. And in fact, our office, the CAB, has received a very significant number of flight cancellations. Because the market would, under these circumstances, would naturally slow down.
About 122 flights to and from China, Macau, and Hong Kong are affected by the ongoing travel ban.
Now here are the biggest stories from the dailies. The Freeman reports that Cebu Governor Gwendolyn Garcia is set to meet with concerned agencies to flesh out the temporary ban on those coming from China as ordered by President Duterte. Garcia will be meeting with Health Department officials, Cebu airport officials, and airline companies together with immigration and quarantine bureaus to be able to fully discuss and operationalize the temporary ban. This will include the 14-day mandatory quarantine for returning Filipinos. Meanwhile, the Health Department is setting up a WeChat hotline with doctors, which Filipinos in China may use to ask for medical assistance amid the Wuhan virus outbreak. Philippine Star reports that the chat hotline is open 24/7 and will be received and responded to by Filipino doctors, psychologists, and nurses trained on crisis intervention. This from Pangmasa. The Education Department has formed a special task force to protect students and teachers from the virus outbreak, named the DepEd Task Force ncov. The group's mandate includes proper coordination with health officials and interagency task force for the management of emerging infectious disease to help prevent the spread of the 2019 ncov acute respiratory disease in the country. The task force will be led by Education Secretary Ling Briones and will be comprised of DepEd undersecretaries plus NCR Regional Director. The second case of novel coronavirus infection in the country has been confirmed. It also happens to be the first ncov-related death outside China. Jason Cosico is back with this report.
It was January 21 when a 38-year-old Chinese national that would soon be known as Philippines' first ncov case entered the country. She was not alone. According to the health department, she came with her 44-year-old partner, who was also admitted at the San Lazaro Hospital for pneumonia. He experienced fever, coughing, and sore throat, which are symptoms also found in patients infected with the novel coronavirus. Test results from the Research Institute for Tropical Medicine reveal he is the country's second ncov case, and after passing away on Saturday, is also the first coronavirus-related casualty outside of China.
Over the course of the patient's admission, he developed severe pneumonia. In his last few days, the patient was stable and showed signs of improvement. However, the condition of the patient deteriorated within the last 24 hours, resulting in his demise.
We need to take into mind that this is not a locally acquired case. This patient came from the epicenter of this outbreak, Wuhan, China.
The government is now in contact with the Chinese embassy for the cremation of the Chinese national.
When we have infectious persons who die of infectious illness, part of the protocol is to dispose, bury, or cremate the remains as soon as possible.
The DOH also assures the public that San Lazaro Hospital, where the two ncov positive patients were admitted, has existing protocols to prevent the spread of the virus.
Both patients were isolated following strict isolation standards, and all health personnel who came in contact with them practiced stringent infection control measures and wore appropriate personal protective equipment.
For the visitors in the hospitals, they're not required to wear any mask unless any personnel in the high-risk area should wear all those protective equipment. For those patients in the PUI that are currently admitted in the hospitals, we don't allow any visitors.
Meanwhile, contact tracing is still ongoing in Cebu and Dumaguete. The public is still advised to practice proper hygiene and coughing etiquette as part of precautions.
The BI is already implementing the presidential directive. Okay, so lahat yan, magpapaskel na ng mga notices ala Singapore that also imposed a China-wide temporary ban. So we're doing the same. And the DFA is sending notice to the missions in China.
Last Saturday, the number of persons under investigation by the DOH is at 36, 30 of which tested negative for the ncov, while 4 are still being tested by the RITM. The Chinese woman, who is the first case of the ncov in the country, is now in better condition, but is still confined at the San Lazaro Hospital. For News 5, JC Cosico, We Are One News.
With the death of the Chinese national in Manila, casualties from the novel coronavirus has gone up to 305, the rest being in mainland China. Reuters reports that there are over 2,500 new cases of people infected with the virus, bringing the total number to more than 14,000. Infections from the novel coronavirus have spilled over to UK, Russia, Sweden, and Spain, with each country reporting at least one confirmed case. Cebu Pacific is now tracking down co-passengers of the 2 Chinese nationals that tested positive for coronavirus. The local airline is working with the DOH, Bureau of Quarantine, and the National Epidemiology Center to contact those aboard flight FJ241 from Hong Kong to Cebu and DG6519 Cebu to Dumaguete. Cebu Pacific urges passengers of those flights who have not yet been contacted to call their office and seek immediate medical attention if they are developing flu-like symptoms. Meanwhile, the Trade Department slammed stores selling overpriced face masks. The DTI says there's no reason for masks to go up as the cost of production remains the same.
If ever nagkakaroon man ng out of stock or shortage, very temporary yan, either for the day or if sabihin nagre-reorder naman kaagad ang tindahan.
Some Filipinos in mainland China have decided to stay put despite the continued spread of the deadly coronavirus in the country. Greg Gregorio will tell us why.
This hotel in the Fenghuazhen district in Zhejiang Province, China, has been abandoned not just by guests but by employees as well, save for these Filipinos. Overseas Filipino workers JD Javel de Leon and Lusurio are cooped up in a hotel, as all of their co-workers from China have been asked to return to their provinces.
Siyempre, mayroon pa rin kami takot, sir, na baka mahawa kami or may mga virus katulad niyan. Meron ng infected dito mismo sa lugar, kaya sinatdown muna yung hotel. Wala muna operation kasi nga dito lang malapit.
This district in China has turned into a ghost town. Streets are empty and businesses closed shop. Zhejiang has the second most number of confirmed cases of the 2019 novel coronavirus acute respiratory disease. But for what it's worth, the 2 OFWs are thankful that they're treated well by their employers, with their body temperatures regularly checked.
Ano naman po kami dito, may peace of mind pag nasa loob, pero pag nasa labas na ng hotel, syempre kailangan din namin bumili ng food. Medyo nakakatakot lang talagang lumabas. Sabi daw, buksan yung heater para at least mamatay yung kasi nga nag-spread out siya mabilis dahil malamig dito po eh.
Despite their situation in China, Lou and JD don't plan on returning to the Philippines anytime soon, thinking that it may be safer for them to stay indoors than travel.
Baka mamaya dun sa travel pa uwi, dun namin makuha kasi sa sobrang dami na ng tao sa airport, di natin masabi.
The Department of Foreign Affairs is getting ready to repatriate Filipinos currently in Wuhan, Hubei, and possibly other OFWs in other parts of China. For News 5, Greg Gregorio, we are One News.
Moving on to other headlines, a fire raced through a warehouse in Pandacan, Manila on Saturday, causing a portion of the Skyway Stage 3 to collapse. The fire, which started around past 10 in the morning on Saturday, raged for almost 4 hours, destroying a packaging warehouse of San Miguel Corporation. The warehouse contained a huge stockpile of highly combustible materials used for packaging. Now, the cause of the fire has yet to be determined.
Dito po kasi daw sa likod may nasunog, may nagwe-welding daw po daw. Tapos tinamaan daw po yung paleta. Yun ang pagkakasabi. Puro paleta o tsaka case ng Red Horse at tsaka San Miguel, ng San Miguel Plastic Plant po. Ito po yung finished product.
Public Works officials say about 300 meters of the Skyway project had been affected, but they have yet to determine the full extent of the damage.
What we know from this stage is that yung particular section affected is sector 2. So, ito po yung malapit sa Pandacan, Manila. But as to the extent of the damage, we don't have data yet. Ongoing pa po yung assessment.
Now, if you need another reason to visit Intramuros, well, here's one. Fort Santiago's dungeons are now open to the public. From 2 p.m. to 10 p.m. every day, the visitors can explore the maze-like prison cells of the walled city. Recall that aside from being a Spanish defense fortress, the fort's dungeons were also used as torture chambers during the Japanese occupation. Entrance fee to the area is 75 pesos for adults and 50 pesos for students, senior citizens, and PWDs. Here are the stories to watch out for later today. The Immigration Bureau and Foreign Affairs Department and the Research Institute for Tropical Medicine are scheduled to give updates on the government's efforts to curb the spread of the 2019 novel coronavirus. President Duterte will be leading the Philippine Navy's change of command ceremony. Rear Admiral Giovanni Carlo Bacordo will replace Vice Admiral Robert Emperad as the new flag officer in command of the Navy. And Manila Mayor Isko Moreno will be leading the 75th annual commemoration of the Battle of Manila. That's how today is shaping up to be. Join us again next time for another round of Rush. I'm Riza Diaz. We are One News.